All right, good morning. Welcome to the Monroe County Emergency Operations Center. I appreciate the media for all being here today to hear an important update from our government leaders and our responders here on the impending weather event and the impact we think that's going to have over the next couple of days, your government's response to that impact, as well as to hear an update about the water issues that we're experiencing, water main issues that we're experiencing in the city of Rochester. So I'm actually going to start by turning this over for an update from my colleagues in the city of Rochester, the mayor, Malik Evans.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Again, I think that what you see here demonstrates the strong partnership between the county, city, as well as the city school district that is here and all of our partners in government. I didn't think that we would be standing here a couple of days before Christmas to address a catastrophic incident that has happened in the city of Rochester over the last 24 hours, and that is this water main break that is affecting a large portion of the citizens in the city of Rochester. We have a lot of information to cover from the city perspective, which we will do. I just want to say that if there is anyone that thinks that infrastructure investment is not important, what you saw yesterday is a prime example of that. A close to 125-year-old pipe bust burst, rupturing the water main, and we're talking about almost 35 gallons of water gushing out in 1 quick hour. I'm going to have Rich Parent, who's my commissioner of the Department of Environmental Service, give us a quick update on where we are with the water main break, and then as well as get an update on the boil water advisory, and then I will come back with other announcements related to services that we will be providing to those affected in the city as a result of this water main break. Rich.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Still good morning. So just making sure here, but no, it's been obviously a lot of work. We started off with the break over on Faber Street, over in that area. That happened at 4:50 p.m. yesterday. Again, as the mayor mentioned, this was an aging 36-inch water main, and so when it broke, it was basically putting out at its max time about 35,000 to 40,000 gallons per minute. To give you an idea, a 24-foot round above ground pool at 4 feet, we would have been filling 3 of those a second with what was happening. And that really made it more difficult to get there because with that much water, you have to go through all of that water with the infrastructure to find out what's going on. But we were able to isolate the break at around 11:30 p.m. last night. We have it under control. It's much less. We're pumping the water out now. Obviously, we have a significant excavation at that point, so we need people to stay away from that area. But we do have water. It's been restored to, as far as we know, all residents and businesses. We're still working on that. A lot of what happens when you have a break like this, the pressure drops, and when that pressure drops, that's what's leading to the public health concerns that we have. And again, we're being extra cautious. I'm going to let the Department of Health speak to that. But because of that water pressure fall, we also had another notable development up on Denice Road in Charlotte. That's been somewhat of a problem area for us, but we're out there fixing that as well. So our crews are on it. Obviously, we're not only dealing with the water main break, but we have a coming weather event that's going to happen as well. So we are going to be fully staffed from operations, from forestry. We're going to have our downtown enhancement district out, and you're going to see us really addressing that change in temperature as quickly as we can. I also want to note that we have an updated map available at cityofrochester.gov/boilwater. Obviously, the one that was submitted last night was done in cooperation with our partners at the county and state departments of health. We took an abundance of caution. We made sure that we're being safe. Safe, reliable water is our goal at all times. We've been able to restore the reliable part through a loop system, which is what we have redundancy built into the Rochester Waterworks system. And at this point in time, we're going to continue. We have a sampling plan that's been approved by the Department of Health, so we're going to start working on that. Provided that the samples turn out well, we should be able to get the first samples done. If we can get them done around noon tomorrow, we're looking at probably late 12/24, December 24th, or early December 25th. Provided again, I'm going to reiterate that all the samples come out clean, we'll be able to lift the boil advisory. So that's what our water bureau is working on at this point in time. And I will turn it over on that note, which I think is pretty apropos, to the County Department of Health. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. As you heard earlier, we are taking an abundance of caution to make sure that everybody has safe and reliable water throughout this holiday period. This is unfortunately not the first time we've been through a boil water advisory. certainly nothing of this magnitude in recent history. But our team at the Health Department stands ready to answer any questions. Please look at our website, monroecounty.gov/health, for some helpful tips on how to manage the boil water advisory. But with that, I will turn it back over.
Thank you, and we want to encourage everyone to please make sure that you follow all of the health advisories until the time that is necessary for us to lift those advisories. As you know, we have this major weather event that is also a part that is coming on the edge of this large storm, which the county executive will get ready to talk about. And for us in the city, this is a major event because it could not allow people to lose power in addition to having also the water challenges that we have. And so because of that, I will be declaring a state of emergency in the city of Rochester starting at noon today. This gives me the ability to be able to do things that are necessary in order to make sure that we are able to protect the residents of the city. Like I said, something like this has never happened, where you had a catastrophic water main break, and I'm sure all of you have been covering the news on this once-in-a-lifetime storm that they're calling it. We have to take that very seriously, so that is why we are going to have to, that is why I'm declaring the state of emergency, because of the risks that are involved. We may not need to use the state of emergency, and I pray that we won't need to, but out of an abundance of caution, because of what happened with this catastrophic water main break, and because of this impending storm that is set to blanket a lot of the country, and because of the vulnerable citizens of Rochester, we will be declaring a state of emergency. The other things I want to mention before I bring up the Rochester School Superintendent, Carmen Paluzzo, who will have an announcement about schools, is that today, starting at 12 o'clock, we will provide pack and go lunches at 1 p.m. at all of our centers. And tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will provide the exact same things. I want to thank FoodLink. FoodLink is absolutely a great partner, as well as the Rochester City School District, in enabling that many of our students who depended upon lunch, they were going to depend upon lunch today and tomorrow, but they are not going to be in school, so we want to make sure that they get the nourishment that they need and that they also have a place to go. So our rec centers will be open. Usually they're open at 2 o'clock, but they will be opening starting today at 12 o'clock, and lunches will be available at that time. And tomorrow, again, we will open up our rec centers at 9 a.m. and keep them open until 6 p.m. to provide meals for folks. So that will be there. I want to say that this, again, just commenting on the state of emergency, this allows us to have fast action. If we need to open up more shelters in the city, it gives us that ability. If in the event that people may lose power tomorrow, it allows us to be able to respond on that as well. And before I turn it back over to the county executive, I want to ask Superintendent Carmine Paluzzo to come up and just comment on the school issues as it relates to the Rochester City School District today and tomorrow. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. So, as you know, yesterday I made a decision to close our schools for today, and appreciate the mayor and his team for the constant communication he provided with the district. We started with a few schools without water, and then continuously expanded throughout the night until when the boil water advisory was put into place. We thought it was in the best interest for our students and families to close the district today. Pending what we're going through with the water and the boil water advisory, and as well as the inclement weather that is heading our way, we will be closing the district tomorrow, Friday. We will have no school tomorrow for Rochester City School District students. So I once again want to thank the mayor and the county for including us in these conversations to make sure that we're ensuring our students, our staff, and families are safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to the county executive, again, I believe in teachable moments, and this is a teachable moment for all of us that live in older cities. I want to echo that water main was 125 years old. We just had a bipartisan infrastructure bill that was passed. That is an example of why the city of Rochester County and Monroe needs to make sure that we get a good sizable chunk of that. As people know, I have made infrastructure a major investment. But that is People's Exhibit A. I'm not an attorney, but that's People's Exhibit A as to why you have to invest in infrastructure. I know people complain about what's going on State Street, but guess what we're doing there? We're replacing water mains that are almost that exact same age. So this is a major issue. You see the effect of what happens when you aren't keeping up with infrastructure, and you have old structures. So look at this: it's affected schools, it's affected businesses, and then it's coming in to collide with a storm. I cannot stress how important it is that all of our levels of government, particularly state and federal, take a look at this as a teachable. It happened in Rochester, it can happen anywhere else. It is why we must have a strong investment in infrastructure practices. It's why you see it in my capital improvement plan, but we need a lot more because there's a lot of more aging infrastructure, not just here in Rochester, but around Monroe County. And with that, I will turn it over to a great partner in government. We were supposed to be wrapping Christmas presents, but we're here. The county executive, who has been absolutely gracious for hosting us here, and his team has been an absolute amazing partner through COVID, through now this issue that we're dealing with, weather. We can't do this without the collaboration that you see here, and a lot of that collaboration is due to County Executive Adam Bello. So Adam.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. The mayor is absolutely correct. The collaboration that we have between all our levels of government is critical, especially as we prepare for emergency situations like this. And I want to thank the mayor and his team. We've been in constant communication and again, collaborating on our response here. A lot goes into this. And to make sure that the public is aware of the actions that we're taking and the recommendations that we're making so that people can be healthy and safe. For my county team, I have Rich Tantillo, the Director of our Public Safety, Tim Henry, who is the Director of the Monroe County Office of Emergency Management. You heard from Dr. Mike Mendoza, and I also have with me today Andrew Moore, the Director of the airport. And we're going to discuss with you the county's preparedness for the impending winter storm that we're going to see here tomorrow. The National Weather Service is telling us what the region will experience tomorrow is going to be a once-in-a-generation storm due to both the wind severity and the duration of the storm. We're under a winter storm warning from 10 a.m. tomorrow through 7 a.m. on Christmas Day. The National Weather Service says not only will we see a flash freeze at some point tomorrow morning, but we will also see some lake effect snow throughout the storm that will blow snow causing whiteout conditions, some localized blizzard conditions, particularly in the western portions of Monroe County. Travel through the holiday weekend is going to be a challenge and at times dangerous and perhaps impossible during blizzard conditions. Therefore, I'm activating the Emergency Operations Center at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Earlier this morning, I met with municipal leaders and school district superintendents from across the county to share the most up-to-date weather information and to ensure that there's a coordinated response between all of our towns, our villages, the county, and the city of Rochester. And we will coordinate that response here at the Emergency Operations Center. Because of the expected dangerous weather conditions tomorrow, all county office buildings will be closed to non-essential employees and the public tomorrow. That includes the Department of Motor Vehicles. So the Department of Motor Vehicles offices will be closed tomorrow. The rain we're experiencing tonight will freeze tomorrow morning. It's going to create extremely dangerous travel conditions. Roadways and overpasses will be frozen, as the salt on the roads will have been washed away with the rain. That's what makes this a particularly challenging storm to respond to, because you're going to have warmer temperatures, you're going to have a lot of rain, and then if you see what's happening in other parts of the country as the storm approaches, that flash freeze comes in and freezes the water that's on the roadway. So the salt trucks are going to be working throughout the area. Plows are going to be out when it snows, but we're really encouraging residents, if you do not have to be on the roads tomorrow, we're asking you to please stay off the roads. This is how we can help our first responders, those who do need to be traveling. That's how we can help make sure that they're safe, so I'm asking you to take precautions tomorrow. Our main focus with the storm, it's the wind, it's the flash freezing, and it's the duration. Severe winds will last through the weekend and gust over 60 miles an hour. That's going to bring wind chills down to 10 to 20 degrees below zero. Unfortunately, this wind is expected to last through the weekend into Sunday. We've been coordinating with Rochester General Electric and National Grid, our state and local partners, as well as the medical services and Red Cross. If you do lose power and there is power outages with winds like that are probably expected and likely. If you do lose power, RG&E and National Grid are telling us you should be prepared to be without power for potentially extended period of time. The reason why is because linemen can't begin working to restore that lost power until the winds die down and the storm leaves. Again, that makes this particularly challenging because the duration of the storm then again impacts the ability to get those lines back up and the power moving. So I do want residents to start making a plan for themselves today. Start making a plan for the event that the power does go out at your home. What will you do through the weekend? Already the City of Rochester, they've announced their emergency operation plans. We are working with the towns and villages to set up warming centers if needed, and we'll continue to update the public as things change. If you do lose power and your situation is life-threatening, for example, people who are dependent on oxygen generators, please call 911 for assistance. Otherwise, please report outages and down lines to your utility provider. As a reminder, do not attempt to heat living spaces with an oven or stove, and please do not run a generator inside your home or garage. Also, do not drive over or approach any down power lines. Residents should check on their vulnerable neighbors and families. We encourage us to come together as a community, as we always do, to get through these weather events, which we will get through. We will continue to monitor conditions throughout the storm event and update the public. I again want to thank the school superintendents for working together, our town and village leaders for their support and cooperation. And again, I want to thank the residents of Monroe County. I know this is going to be tough. This is a holiday weekend, and I want to extend my thanks to our first responders. We have first responders who are going to be working through the weekend. They're going to be taking time away from their families over a holiday, and so I would like everybody to please join me and say thank you to them. I know it's just a couple days before Christmas. We all have some last-minute shopping that we want to get in, but I also want everybody to be safe and healthy for the holiday. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Henry. He's going to talk more about the timing of the storm and a little bit more about the preparedness that we have here at the Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, County Executive Bello. I'm going to add a little level of granularity to a lot of the information that both the County Executive and the Mayor has brought forward. Again, this is going to be a tough weather situation. We're not here to scare anybody, we're here to inform. First and foremost for this event is tomorrow morning, sometime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., the first front is going to come through and we'll have temperatures declining from the 40s to the teens in roughly 4 to 6 hours. As the county executive described, that's going to be a flash freeze, and any of the rain that has fallen overnight on both roadways and sidewalks are going to generate a significant issue both for wheeled travel as well as pedestrians. Hence the recommendation to school district superintendents on their thoughtful opening decisions or not for tomorrow. That's also going to be an issue for bridges. So as county executive said, we're giving warnings to any of our emergency responders during that 4-hour period or until such time that the treatment on the roads take effect. It's going to be slippery conditions out there. Secondly, along with the cold front coming through is significant uptick in winds from 35 miles an hour with gusts to 50 to 60. Sadly, we just concluded a call with National Grid and Rochester Gas and Electric. Their modeling says that there's going to be widespread outages. They've brought in as many crews as they possibly can, given the staffing issues across the state and as well as the seasonal issues. Again, as the county executive said, we should expect to start seeing during the day tomorrow power outages. If you have health conditions or issues that require you to be on oxygen, again, those are situations to call 911. If not, follow the NYSEG and Rochester Gas and Electric and National Grid process to file those complaints. Please don't overwhelm 911 with reporting power outages multiple times. In addition, overnight we'll have another cold front come through, an Arctic front that will drive temperatures down further into single digits. Again, bringing challenges to any of the restoration efforts that will take place. It is highly unlikely that both at night and when winds exceed 35 miles an hour And when wind chills get down into the negative digits, there will be any kind of restoration effort by Rochester Gas and Electric or National Grid. There is going to be a high level of anxiety, right? It's a holiday season. You may have visitors to your house, and you may be hosting a party that you're not going to be able to host because power is going to be out. Expect the worst and hope for better times here with restoration, but these are going to be challenges. They're not excuses, they're the facts. It's the reality that we're dealing with. In addition, with the winter storm warning, we are expecting more snow than we did 24 hours ago, and particularly for those communities in what we consider the northwest quadrant of our county. So if you live in Pittsford or Perrington, you could get 1 to 2 inches. However, if you're in Hamlin, Clarkson, Parma, and Sweden, you could be experiencing 55-mile-an-hour winds, 6 to 10 inches of snow, blizzard-like conditions. Same thing in Gates, Chile, Riga, Ogden, and Greece, estimated 3 to 6 inches. Again, very difficult travel conditions. All other locations in the county, right now we're forecasting to trace to 2 inches. So the message is, if you need to travel, expect significantly changing weather and travel conditions as you travel across the county, depending on your location. Lastly is the wind chill. Again, if you need to be outside, if you're working outside, if you're traveling outside, please bundle up, take care of exposed skin, particularly in negative or single-digit wind chill conditions. Again, we've been through situations like this before, but never with a combination of, and I'll say never, probably back to the late 70s is what the National Weather Service is comparing this to. It's the combination of the flash freeze, the high wind conditions, the snow, and the wind chill, combined with what we know will be a challenge for restoration of a power outage. Lastly, we will communicate via county social media as well as other media outlets as we receive information from other municipalities on their plans for warming centers. So for those folks who need to charge their phones, get warm, spend some time in a warm building, if you've got an extended period of power outage, we will communicate on all of our media outlets where those locations will be and the times of operation. All I will say right now is we've been through this before. We stay together as a community here in Monroe County. Look out for those that you know either have health conditions or the elderly. It's the season to care. And so with that, you can count on the Emergency Operations Center in Monroe County to be prepared and inform you on conditions as they change. I'll turn it back over now to County Executive Bello.
Great, thank you, Tim, and thank you to the work here at the Emergency Operations Center. And again, I want the public to know we are here. We're going to work through the weekend, and we'll make sure we get through this storm just fine. But we just want to make sure that the public is aware of the precautions they need to take, and that we really should take this storm seriously over the next couple of days and start to make those preparations for you and your family. So with that, I think any of us up here can take some questions.
Adam, a lot of suburban school districts are open tomorrow. What would you suggest for the superintendents do?
I had a meeting with the school superintendents this morning to review what the plan should be over the next couple of days. And the school districts are all preparing plans right now to close tomorrow. So the expectation is they'll be closed tomorrow as well, and they'll be making those announcements in the coming minutes.
Based on what you know right now, do you think there could be a possibility of no unnecessary travel or even closing roads to?
So we're going to have to, that's why we're all going to be here at the Emergency Operations Center. We'll be monitoring traffic conditions. Our relationship with our law enforcement partners is important as well, as is the coordination with the city and suburban Department of Public Works to monitor road conditions. But I would encourage, ask the public to please make sure to follow the news, follow us on social media, because if necessary, we will have to do that. Travel advisories, travel bans, things like that, depending on how the storm tracks. One of the important things that we noted here is that where you are in the county could have a very, very vastly different experience with this storm. Our concern really is right now on the western edge of the county when it comes to how severe those winds will come in the snow, but that may not be for other areas of the county, so it all depends. So I'd ask people to please, stay informed through social media and the news.
I have a question for Dr. Mendoza, if I may, sir. In regards to the boil water advisory, what kind of health risks would people be at if they did not boil their water? They didn't know the advisory was in effect last night or this morning. What should they be on the lookout for? And can you also just explain what's in this water if right now if people are not boiling it?
Well, as you heard earlier, the concern here is when there's a loss of water pressure, there is a chance that microbes from the surrounding immediate environment could get into the water. Right now, we have no evidence to say that the water is unsafe, so what we are encouraging, though, given the risk, is the boil water advisory, which you've read about. The typical microbes that we'd be concerned about are bacteria, viruses, certainly other pollutants, but the primary health risks are related to gastrointestinal illnesses. So if somebody has nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, or the like, we ask that people contact their healthcare provider if they have any questions. But again, if we follow the boil water advisory, as you heard, it will be in effect at least through Saturday. We anticipate no real problems as long as people follow the boil water advisory.
Mayor, question for you or Rich too. Do you have any idea what would have caused the water main break?
I don't think we know yet, Rich. But I mean, there's a lot of factors. I mean, you have the age, and I'll let Rich weigh in here. You have the age of the pipe. You have changing temperatures that go up and down. But again, almost 125-year-old pipe. I think its 125th birthday would have been 2024. So this is a very, very old pipe. Rich, you're covered. Yeah. So that's what it is. We have to do something about old pipes in our communities, not just in Rochester, but across the country. And that's why infrastructure investments are so very important, because we see it has real damages, and it makes it even more difficult when you have this weather event coming up, and the fact that now we have a large portion of the city, as you can see on that map, that need to boil their water.
And Mayor, without power, if we lose power and some people have electric stoves, I mean, they can't boil water.
That's exactly, and that's why I declared the state of emergency, because we want to make sure that we have ample opportunity and space for people to be able to come to places where they can be safe and healthy. And the storm complicates that, so that's why in the city of Rochester, we are activating the state of emergency. I'm sorry, 1 second. Go ahead.
Could you even venture a guess as to how much it would cost to replace the infrastructure that needs replacing?
Well, I can tell you already, just for all the pipes that we're trying to replace within the city of Rochester, that's a $200 million investment as it relates to our lead program. And then the other ones, we're doing them as we can. For example, if you go down State Street, you guys have reported on some businesses and individuals being upset about the construction on State Street. Well, we are replacing pipes that are over 100 years old on that street as well, so we can prevent more of these incidences. Most of the time when you see a water main break, it might be, could be a weather, could be something like that, but we have old infrastructure in our city. We are an old city back there.
And I know there's a designated area for the water boil advisory. Should people on the border of that area or a little bit outside that area be concerned as well?
I'm going to let a health professional answer that question.
So the boil water advisory boundaries were decided in conjunction with the state health department and our department. We ask that you follow the guidelines. So if you're outside that area, there's no need to take the additional boil water precautions. But those who are in that boundary should follow the advisory.
Are you asking for a friend?
All I would say is, if you're right on the border, then you might as well take precautions. But if you're outside the border, you do not need to.
Doctor, so if I boil my water, then can I let it cool again, or tell people what boil the water advisory really means, I guess?
Right, so we ask that you bring the water to a boil, a vigorous boil with the bubbling and so forth. Let it boil for a minute at least, and then depending on what your needs are, let it cool. And that includes preparing vegetables, washing vegetables. Think about the ice in your refrigerator that comes from the water. Be thoughtful about where the water is coming from. Think also about your pets. Pets should also be using boiled water for their consumption needs as well.
Rich, what kind of time frame is Public Works of Rochester working with in regards to trying to finish, or Mr. Mayor, what type of time frame is Public Works working against to try to secure the scene where this pipe busted? Because I imagine if we've got temperatures in the teens, the pipes could be exposed and freeze.
They've been working overnight. They've been working nonstop. I'm sure some of them have not slept. This has been an all-night, all-day, hands-on-deck option. So I know people are. I even heard someone came in on their birthday, right, to come in and work. These folks in Public Works are really working overtime to try to get this repaired.
Are they able to secure the scene before the freeze gets here? Or what are you working against as far as time and the winter storm getting here?
I'll let Rich take that.
No, right now we have it excavated, and so it'll be significant, but the main thing was just to stop that water from coming out of it, which we have. I mean, we haven't stopped it completely. We have 4 pumps out there right now. We had to close 9 valves. But at this point in time, we're going to work through as long as we can. But at this point in time, there's really not going to be much more of an impact or effect on that particular pipe because it's out of service and we're making the repair. As I noted, we've already got redundancy in our system, so those loops are providing water to all of the houses that were done by that. As Dr. Mendoza mentioned, and the question was asked about the areas, we have separate areas that are served by our various reservoirs. So in this case, we were able to, again, loop it around, but still same reservoir, hence the need for the boil advisory in that, under those particular boundaries.
Speaking of Public Works, your road crews, what are they doing in preparation for the storm?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you have to remember that with the temperatures we're talking about, salt is only good to a certain temperature, and we can have treated salt as well. Even that treated salt is not going to get us to a point where if we end up at negative temperatures. Now, again, part of that's wind chill, but we are getting into December. We are into December, coming into January, so we're starting to see that ground become cold once that happens. So the answer to your question is we'll be out providing salt. We're going to go out and salt the roads. The question is when you get precipitation, if it's rain particularly, it's just going to wash it away. So we have to be very judicious about what we do, but we are going to be more excessive than we normally would be given this. So our special services will be out on all the main roads and collectors treating them as needed even prior to the event. So we're going to be getting out there very, very soon. We're going to treat and plow the main arterials when we go from the flash freeze to the snow. We'll even utilize up to 25 of our refuse, our garbage trucks, which we'll equip with plows to supplement special services. We're going to have 150 plus pieces of equipment ready to go just for this. If needed, we're going to monitor the snowfall. It will vary, as was noted by Mr. Henry. So when you get up around Charlotte and Lake, they're likely to see more. We're still waiting to see what happens with the band from Lake Erie and where that settles, but generally we know it's going to be on our west side of the city, so in our southwest and northwest quadrants. With that said, depending on the snowfall, we'll get out, we'll do residential runs on our residential streets. We'll also look to do our sidewalk plowing, which is another service that we provide. So once we start to hit that 4 inches of new snow, we're going to make sure we get out there and take care of that. As far as the wind, that's where I mentioned the forestry division. We're going to continue to treat and plow all of the roadways. Even with that, the entire forestry staff is on standby right now. We also have a private contractor ready to go as well to take care of any downed limbs, things like that that might impact restoration of power. And then as we get into the wind chill, that's where DES will be supporting any city departments that need it. And of course, our building services has been making sure that things like our centers and other facilities are ready to go in the event that people have to come because of, as noted, the loss of power and the inability to boil the water. Thank you.
County Executive Bello, could you give more context when it comes to the shelters Monroe County is trying to open up and just where people can go if they need to seek shelter or get help in any way? How does that all work?
Yeah, that's part of the coordination with our towns and villages, in particular outside of the city of Rochester. And we're working with obviously with the city team on the warming shelters they're creating here. The situations are a little different. One is which there's a particular issue here in the city of Rochester because of the boil water advisory, and like it's been noted, the power is out and you have an electric stove, that makes it much more difficult to boil water. So those arrangements are already underway. This morning we spoke to the town officials, and we are working with them to put those plans in place. We did the warming centers last year, if you recall, during the wind events that we had. It was last December, and then late into the winter season, a couple occasions we set them up. So we have a plan in place to do that. We partner with the Red Cross to do that as well. So as those are necessary and needed, they will come.
Obviously, it's one of the biggest travel weekends of the year.
It is.
Maybe Andy, I don't know if you can address this.
Sure, I can have Andy Moore, the airport director, can
Yeah.
come and talk about airport operations as well.
Yeah,
Sure.
just the impacts, if there are any impacts known right now, and kind of how that'll all play out at the airport as far as
Sure.
planes.
Yeah, certainly with this kind of weather that's coming, there are impacts at the airport. We are starting to see delays and cancellations in our hub airports that we fly to, particularly in the Midwest. When you look at the 2 Chicago airports and you look at Detroit, there's 4 of our 8 airlines that fly to those 3 airports. It's about 20% of our total flights per day. And so we're monitoring that as we move forward. As far as here in Rochester, we're prepared. We're good at snow removal. We're good at taking care of ice. Our air crews, our airfield crews win awards consistently for snow and ice removal, and we're in good shape. I've spoken not only with air traffic control just to make sure they're okay. I've spoken with the airlines, spoken with our de-icers and fuelers out at the airport. They're contracted with the airlines to make sure they're ready to go. So I think here in Rochester, we're in really good shape.
Andy, how many extra personnel are you putting on this weekend?
We have full crews out on the airfield ready to go. So that's where our priority is. Obviously at airports, safety and security is the #1 priority, regardless of what weather conditions are, but certainly moving into what we're seeing coming in the next couple days, 24, 48 hours, becomes a heightened awareness of safety and security for everybody at the airport.
I would imagine there's a certain level of wind where flights would be canceled.
Yeah, you know, what I like to say is the airport does not control airline policies or procedures or guidelines. So each one has a different set of policies and procedures. And unfortunately, we may be in great shape here in Rochester, but the layover airport that a traveler is going to or the final destination that a traveler is going to may not be in such good shape. They may have weather conditions or something else going on there. So that's why I always recommend everybody check with their airline as consistently as they can. Download an app on your phone. That's one of the best ways to get direct and up-to-date information from the airline that you're flying with.
Will your crews be working a staggered shift, or will they be working their normal shifts with normal scheduling?
We've gone to 12/12s, so we've increased the amount of crews out on the airfield to handle the ramps, the taxiways, and the runways. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last thing I'll add before we wrap up is, again, that app for the boil water, cityofrochester.gov/boilwater. The map we put out last night, you had to do that in like 5 or 10 minutes, but we have another enhanced map. People told these folks on social media were saying, oh, this map isn't good enough, but we have a now updated map. So if our friends in the media could please make sure you link to that map from your website and push that out on all your social media feeds. cityofrochester.gov/boilwater. Thank you, everyone, and have a great holiday season.